Well, how is everybody doing today so far?
Great.
Great? Good? Great? Well, good. Like I told the other classes, I'm just like my dog. I have ADD, which is attention deficit disruptive disobedient disorder. So if you fall into the classification of ADD or ADHD, you're in good company. I don't care, stand up, swirl around, do whatever to be respectful of your neighbors. Okay? I'm going to try to stay on track with following kind of a linear progression, but if any questions happen, we might divert all those things. So Kelly wanted me to talk today, or at least present information to you, because I sit on the board of directors at Diabetes Support Services, and part of that is functioning as a research analyst to review technologies that are used not only in Western healthcare, but from around the world, and to really separate the wheat from the chaff, so like separate the evidence-based research from all the marketing hype. And introduce you guys to some of the newer tools that we use for health management, especially within the diabetic population. Okay, is all that kind of like good in a nutshell?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
All right. So one of the breaking things that we're working with right now is hydrogen gas, and using that with our clinical diabetic population. And that has in your medical training or nursing training, has anybody ever talked to you about this?
No.
Okay. All right, so I want to be very clear in that when I'm talking about hydrogen gas, I'm referring to H2, not H+. H+ is really acidic, don't drink that bad, okay? H2 is two hydrogen atoms with extra electrons, so they can donate electrons. They're actually very, very, very unique in that hydrogen, also in hydrogen gas, also known as dihydrogen or diatomic hydrogen or molecular hydrogen, tomato, potato, whichever one you decide to pick. They're all the same thing. What's very unique about it is that it can pass through, it's small enough to pass through cellular membranes, including the blood-brain barrier. So it can immediately arrest things like hydroxyl radicals, which are the most cytotoxic free radicals of all in the human body. And H2 can immediately bind with that and suppress it. It immediately converts into water. Okay, so.
Wait, so what happens to the hydrogen? I'm sorry. Is that getting too far off track?
Well, perhaps, but right now what we know is that the hydrogen gas immediately binds with the hydroxyl, and then you just get water out of it. So, I mean, that's what the science says thus far. And there's no negative effect, or there's no cytotoxicity at all. And that was also, fortunately, based on 30 years of military research where they used it for super deep sea diving, where they had Navy divers breathing a very specialized exotic gas mixture called Hydrolix, which was 49% hydrogen, 50% helium, and 1% oxygen. And they would breathe that down to like 600 to 1,000 feet. Something crazy. Yeah. And what they realized was that there was little to no cytotoxicity from that at all, even at those very high concentrations. So with that said, there was an interesting phenomenon that transpired in the early 1990s in Nordenau, Germany. And there was a slate mine that's in that location in Germany. It was a slate mine during World War II, and it had since been converted into this special resort. And there were a large number of individuals that were suffering from terminal illnesses that went there for their last hurrah. And coincidentally, many of them had spontaneous remissions from their diseases while they were there. And it was enough to where local medical professionals got wind of this and were really curious. And so they went to investigate. And indeed, they did document that a large number of people did encounter spontaneous remissions, and they didn't know how it was happening. Long story short, I'm not sure how it really transpired, but they were able to enroll some Japanese physicists and scientists who were able to travel to Germany to perform quantitative analysis on the area, including the cave and the water. It just so happens that the slate mine itself had been converted into a large wine cellar. It was this large cave, but it had a stream running through it, a natural stream, natural aquifer. And the Japanese scientists discovered that there was a large quantity of hydrogen gas that was being evolved from the cave. And this was coming out of solution that was in the water. So the water was rich in hydrogen gas, which it stays in solution for a period of time. And then it immediately starts going through standard kinetics, and after 24 hours, it's kind of out of the water, and after 48 hours, or at 24 hours, it's at half-life, and then 40 hours, it's out, then it's floating around in the environment. So these people that were going into this wine cellar, or this area of the resort, were not only respirating hydrogen gas, they were also drinking what they called therapeutic water. and that was coined the North Now phenomenon. So they, the physicians, encountering this, did a follow-up study on 411 diabetic patients. And what they discovered during this study was that after 6 days of consuming this water, biomarkers started changing measurably. LDL cholesterol was dropped by about 15%, HDL cholesterol was elevated by 7 to 8%. They encountered significant increases in insulin sensitivity. And in some cases, they had complete reversal of metabolic syndrome and diabetes type 2. And that was consuming between 1 and 2 liters per day, which is the equivalent of between 4 and 8 glasses in American terms. Okay, so that's where I came to this from the diabetic side. Now, why I started investigating this is because I started investigating the Japanese healthcare system. We started noticing with our diabetic population in the United States that quality of life wasn't what we thought it should be in their later years. In Western medicine, generally speaking, diabetes is handled to some extent through dietary control, to some extent through physical fitness, but to a large extent synthetic pharmaceutical medications. The problem with this approach in the long term, and I don't want to harp on Western medicine too bad because we're great at what we do, which is emergency management. We're great. I mean, if you get like an arm lopped off, this is the place to be if you want to put it back on, right? But when it comes to long-term care, the numbers don't lie. We're 49th in the world as far as longevity, and I think over the past month, the first day infant mortality rate for all industrialized nations, we were number 1. I mean, we have the highest death rate for first day infants of any industrialized nation on the planet. And that was research that just broke over the last month or two. Yeah, so when it comes to long-term health in the United States, these are numbers that we really have to take a look at. Same thing with diabetics, synthetic pharmaceutical medications. They're at much higher risk of developing cardiovascular disease and cancer as a result of chronic inflammation and free radical damage. Right? So as they progress in life, frequently they're on more antibiotics to stave off infections because they have a lack of blood flow to their lower extremities, which then puts them at more risk for diabetic ulceration and then inflammation. So they're on lots of medications. After 30 to 50 years, then their kidneys take all they can handle, then they end up with tubular necrosis, and they end up in hemodialysis. And then life really sucks. And then you have to ask yourself, what's the point, right? So especially once they start encountering amputations. That's a total life changer. That's a game changer, right, in a bad way. So my job at DSS, Diabetes Support Services, was to look at all the available evidence, separate the evidence-based research from the marketing hype, and figure out how could we best serve our patients. What else was available that we weren't using? Is this how it has to be done, or is this just the way that Western medicine does it? And technically that's what we encountered, which was this is the way Western medicine does it. Is that really because it's towards optimal health, or are there other underlying issues involved, including both business and politics? Well, the answer is yes. And I'm not going to go into those today. But what I had to look at was, well, what other options are available? And then we started looking at the Japanese system, which was very unique. It's also important to note that the Japanese have the highest life expectancies of any country in the world. They also have one of the lowest infant mortality rates of any nation in the world. They were number 1 for years. I think it's only been the past 5 or 6 where they've dropped to number 3. But they've also been nuked 3 times. They smoke like steel factories. So even so, they're still doing pretty good, right? You know, pound for pound.
Hi everyone, I'm here because I would like to share this amazing journey that I'm on right now, and this is going to be my first update. So I recently relocated to Vancouver, and I had no plan, no goals, no idea what I was doing, just enough money to start over. So I quit my job and I just came here, and my 2 best friends are living here. So I walk into my best friend's house where I was going to be living while I figured out the rest of what I was doing, and all they're talking about is this water, this alkaline Kangen water. They have this weird machine by the sink, and everyone's just so like just buzzing about it, so happy, so energetic, and I've never seen them this way. I was a little taken aback. I was like, have you guys joined some sort of cult? Or like, I didn't really know how to feel about it, what to think. I thought to myself, it's just water. Like, how can you possibly feel this way about water? I know water is life and it's amazing and it makes everything better. You can't be dehydrated. There's so many side effects. But how is this water so much better than anything you've ever experienced in your entire life? Like, you're living for it. So I was very skeptical, to say the least. I was a little, just weirded out. So I said, okay, yeah, of course I'm going to try it because it's hooked up to your sink and it's the only water option here. And, I'm willing to try it. And they're like, you just wait. Like, you just wait, Myra, you will see. You will see. So
your time has come to watch the fools. Don't let no one tell you what you must do. Do you like what you see? It doesn't make you cry. Use your imagination to start a fire.
What's going on, Kunga Water family, Facebook friends? I'm here with Bob Gradelli. Most of you guys may know him. Some of you guys may not. He's a good friend of mine. He's actually the person that introduced me to Enagic or Kunga Water. And I think everybody goes through a cycle of maybe having something and not having something. Obviously, I'm at his house. We're at the point where he has something.
You're catching me on a good day.
I'll catch you on a good day. But I'm sure there's plenty of bad days that started with that.
Oh,
if you
yeah.
can tell me what happened.
Good day, Doc.
Good day, man. How you doing, Bobby?
Good. It's a beautiful day in Southern
It
California.
is a beautiful
here.
day. About to go swimming?
Yeah, we're gonna go swimming after Doc gives me an adjustment here. Make me feel 1,000% today.
That's right.
So I can keep up with my daughter.
That's right.
So Doc wants to know. Let's see. I think as entrepreneurs, because most people probably listening are entrepreneurs that are, anybody who wants to start a business or as all entrepreneurs, we all have our ups and downs, and I think you can ask any successful entrepreneur, they probably can give you a matter of how many times they failed their way to the top.
That's right.
So it's about, failure is just a stepping stone and, a place where you learn from and just keep moving forward until you achieve the dreams and things you want in life. And just like us, I basically started a hobby from high school, turned it into a business. Half my life I was in the automotive trim industry. Got introduced to this industry about 20 years ago. And, I started with, I'll make it short. I've been through about 6 different companies, you guys.
Wow.
So some of you might be in the same place as I was, 20 years ago, and then 10 years ago, Enagic fell in my lap, and those 6 companies, you guys, it was like this. A rocky road up and down, and most of those companies went out of business.
I'm glad to have the opportunity to be here this wonderful Sunday morning. It's bright and early, and one of the earliest things that were under development was hydrogen, the first element of the periodic table, and so that's perfect right for our talk. First off, what is molecular hydrogen? Well, here's the molecule here. It's 2 hydrogen atoms that are bound together to form the molecule molecular hydrogen. It's the Hindenburg, it's the hydrogen gas. We have talked about hydrogen gas as an alternative energy source for many years, using fuel cells. It's 3 times more energy dense than gasoline. So that's where most of research of hydrogen has been. However, recently, hydrogen gas has been shown to be therapeutic and medicinal. And I came across this whole hydrogen gas area about 6 years ago or so, and I was really astounded, and I wanted to learn more about it, and I started doing more research, reading more articles, just going through everything that I possibly could. I was an undergrad. my degree was biochemistry. I continued reading all these articles. I got more and more excited about it. I did a number of just research projects here and there. And then for my internship to complete my degree in biochemistry, I had the opportunity to go to Nagoya University in Japan. And that was a big deal because Nagoya is the 5th most prestigious university there in Japan. It's very well recognized. And I had the opportunity to go over there and research with some of the brightest minds in the world of academia. And my mentor, Dr. Kinji Ono, he's the vice dean of Nagoya University in the Department of Neurogenetics. And it's very interesting how he got into this whole area of hydrogen gas. And his story is basically he heard a lot of anecdotes and other colleagues talking about this whole hydrogen gas idea and its possibility that it could be medicinal and therapeutic. And he, being rather skeptical and a very respected scientist in his field of neurogenetics and all the things he's done at the Mayo Clinic and other places throughout his life, he didn't quite want to do the whole hydrogen gas thing because he was very skeptical and almost sounded a little like pseudoscience or something. And so what he decided to do is do an in-house study where he was going to see the effects of hydrogen gas on Parkinson's disease. So he took rats and injected them with a toxin to induce a Parkinson's disease in them. And then he had, in a controlled trial, he had some of the rats drink water that contains dissolved hydrogen gas, and of course the other rats just drink normal water. What he saw changed his research career because he saw that the rats drinking the hydrogen-rich water, it totally prevented the development of Parkinson's disease. So when he saw that with his own eyes in his own lab, that totally changed research career, and now he is focused entirely on trying to elucidate what the underlying molecular mechanisms and primary targets of hydrogen gas is. And that's also my primary desire or goal or emphasis, is what interests me the most, is how is hydrogen gas working? Because we see it in cells, tissues, animals, humans, all these different things about hydrogen gas, but the question is, how is it actually working? And those answers remain elusive. So in this presentation, I'm just going to briefly give you an overview of hydrogen gas and its medical applications, what we've seen so far, how it can be used, and that should help you in your practice and how maybe you can use it. So here's some of my objectives here. We're basically the basic pharmacodynamics of hydrogen gas, including its role as an antioxidant and its signaling and modulating effects, therapeutic and potential of molecular hydrogen in medical and clinical applications, and the shortcomings and weaknesses of conventional antioxidants and how hydrogen gas can overcome them. So right now, molecular hydrogen has shown to have therapeutic potential in over 150 human and animal disease models. The last count is actually closer to 170 different human and animal disease models. And essentially every organ of the human body, whether the spleen, the pancreas, the brain, the heart, the testes, the placenta, and we'll talk about more of these in detail. The number of research articles on molecular hydrogen are also growing exponentially. It really started about 2007. And the reason why is because, there's lots of journals and more popping up these days. But journals, as you know, in the peer review are tiered at higher levels, and this is generally based on its impact factor. In 2007, there were about 50 articles that were published on the medical effects of hydrogen gas and its potential as being therapeutic, but no one really took a lot of interest. One of the first articles was in 1975 by Baylor University and Texas A&M, showing that hyperbaric hydrogen has a marked regression of tumors, melanoma tumors in mice. And there's a couple other articles here and there, but not a lot of interest. And really, when you think about it, how do you really apply hyperbaric hydrogen to your normal patients? Hydrogen gas is extremely flammable. It's a safety issue. So it wasn't really practical. However, what happened, there were only 50 articles or so around 2007, but in 2007, there was a groundbreaking article published in the journal Nature Medicine, which, as you know, is one of the most prestigious, highly respected journals. It has an impact factor around 30 or so. And when the article was published in there, which has been cited hundreds and hundreds of times, that really took the biomedical research area and scientists by surprise, and now research has just grown exponentially to now there's actually around 600 different articles that discuss its therapeutic application. It's not just in Asia, but also here it's growing in the U.S. A number of these universities and organizations are also doing hydrogen research. You see NASA, some of them are actually looking into using hydrogen-rich water. You can take the gas and put it into water, and astronauts can drink that to protect them from the radiation damage during space travel. So lots of easy uses.
My first 3 days on the water, the first thing that I noticed was my energy levels through the roof. Like, I felt like I had just been drinking, like, you know, just one of those natural energy drinks where you feel that healthy, like, stimulation. Like, I used to drink coffee all the time. Like, I didn't feel that I even wanted coffee. I was like, if I had any coffee right now, I'd be through the roof. So basically,
today I'm going to increase the knowledge of Kangen water, because we have been drinking Kangen water all this while, and we know the benefits of drinking Kangen water. And today I'm going to show you with Kangen water we can actually improve our cooking and enhance the food. Okay, today what I'm going to do is to air fry chicken wings and also stew chicken thigh. That we buy over the shelf from the supermarket, just washing to normal tap water. You can't wash away the oil-based pesticide that is being sprayed by the farmers. Okay, tomatoes, the water, and then this is the tap water. So after stirring with our normal tap water, let's see what we get out of tap water. Okay, when we wash with tap water, this is what we get. It's still tap water, clear, maybe a little bit of dirt, okay? But if you see we wash with strong Kangen water, you can see the oil-based pesticide is being washed out, and you can see the difference. See, so the benefit of using strong Kangen water to wash our fruits, it will taste better, and the oil-based pesticide will be washed up after soaking it for 5 minutes. Chicken has been soaked in beauty water. I'm going to take it out. I'm going to sprinkle some just garlic salt over it, season it for a little. Just a little bit.
Hey everyone, how's it going? David Addison here. I'm going to show you something awesome. Have you ever gotten into juicing before? I saw a documentary a little while ago and it just blew me away. It's called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. Check it out. It's really awesome. This Australian guy goes on this cleanse of it's like 30 days or 60 days and he's just juicing. Right? He's taking fruits and vegetables, sticking them through the juicer, and drinking it back. And the results he gets is truly remarkable. And it's always inspired me to do much the same. It's a little bit of a challenge. You got to get all the stuff and then make it. And again, we want to make sure we're putting in the best quality ingredients. In this case, I'm going to stick in some apples, celery, ginger, lime. I've got some beets I'll stick in, and a whole bunch of carrots. Okay, and as we all know, this stuff is just covered in pesticides, dirt, grime, herbicides, all that. If you've been watching, you know that this bad boy here, the Kangen machine's got strong 11.5 water, and that emulsifies oil and cleans things really well. Also, the water is just chock full of antioxidants. Okay, this machine's plugged into the wall and it's essentially electrocuting the water, and it's adding life into the water, which gets into our food. So when I clean this stuff, not only is it a lot cleaner, but it's actually charged full of life. I'm going to show you how I make the tastiest and the most effective juices you've ever seen. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill up this with 11.5, the strong water here, and chop all these bad boys up, let them sit in here for a little while and make some juice. Okay, so check this out. Okay, there we go. Everything's in here. It's just going to sit around for a little while. I'm going to let it soak for, I don't know, a few minutes. You'll see all the stuff that comes off this. I'll show you the water. It's pretty gross. And then we'll make some juice. Hold on.
So basically, my body after about 3 or 4 days went into the detox process, and I felt a little sick, and I was a bit afraid. Like, my throat was hurting. I had some headaches, but I noticed the more water I drank, the better it would get, and my body was just craving this water. Like, I was drinking, like, you know, like one of these every hour or two. This is quite a bit of water here. And without it, like, I'd go downtown and I wouldn't bring it with me, and I'd feel that I needed it. I was like, I just need more, and I need my energy back, and I gotta go home and get more water. And I've never been that way with water. I've always just kind of drank it when it was around. And so my body was in detox, and I was just hoping those symptoms would go away soon. It was a bit draining, you know. It's just because I was so in shock. My body was so acidic and unhealthy, and I didn't even realize it, you know. So my energy levels were amazing, even through the detox, even through waking up with a sore throat. And that went away after a week. I started to just feel overall healthier. I needed
carrot and tomato soup, and these are the ingredients.
Right, each soup have exactly the same ingredients. 4 carrots, 2 whole tomatoes, and then some tomatoes that I had used for something else but didn't want to use the inside, so we may as well not waste them. 1 potato each, 3 cloves of garlic each, and half an onion. So I will start by frying the onions and the garlic, and then I will chop up the vegetables, put them into 2 separate pans. We will use half a teaspoon of salt, and we will use probably about 4 twists of the peppercorn. So everything should have exactly the same ingredients, except that one will have water from the tap and the other will have Kangen water.
Very good.
Okay.
With that introduction,
so let me cut up the garlic.
Very good.
And the onions, and then we can get going. This is the garlic.
Just as a bit of an introduction, David is a owner of a restaurant, and he knows a lot about food. So, and he's now an active user of Kangen water. So we are doing this experiment to see the difference that the water actually makes. Garlic.
That's 1 set of garlic.
Season it with sesame oil, a little bit of sesame oil. So the chicken thigh will be ready to be stewed. Okay, chicken thigh, and then I'll sprinkle it with shiitake mushroom and tomato. Okay, so a little bit of Kangen water soaking just above the chicken thigh, and when we stew it, it will bring out the flavor together with the essence. Okay, so I'm gonna stew this under steam it for about 20 minutes.
we're back. So I chopped these bad boys up and I've stuck it in the 11.5 water, and it's been for real time. It's been in here for about 4 or 5 minutes, and let's take a look to see what's come off. Hopefully you can see this. Well, there's a ton of stuff in here, and I know it's not the clearest bowl, and the beets were red, but I don't know. You see that? A lot of stuff. Now, let's get rid of that. Now let's make some juice. So I've
2. Okay. Now we're ready to take these to the pan. A little bit of olive oil, which will help. I think better leave the knife behind.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
We cook outside. First of all, get fire going.
Yes, we would need fire
It would help.
to cook.
All right. We'll just do 1 cap of garlic oil, of olive oil.
Olive oil.
Another cap of olive oil. That should be enough. Don't want it too oily.
Incidentally, this will also be a cooking lesson for me.
I have 2 separate spoons so that there is no contamination of any sort.
There was a hunch in 1967 that because cancer is highly associated with free radical damage, which causes DNA denaturing, that if there was a way to arrest the free radical damage, that we could effectively stall or significantly suppress the development of cancer. So that was a hypothesis in 1967. And then they did an animal study in 1975 using lab rats and intentionally infecting them with squamous cell carcinoma, which is skin cancer. And what they discovered was that when they were exposed to 97.5% hydrogen, I think like 2.5% oxygen in the atmosphere, within 2 weeks, all of those cancerous lesions had completely resolved. Okay, now what's interesting to note is that following that research, continuous research in the United States went black on that topic. No other research was done. Okay, I don't have the answer to that. In looking at all the research, there's no logical way to justify why that was done. There's certainly conspiracy theory, there's politics, there's business, all those play into it, no doubt. But there's no logical reason why it should have been stopped. From that point forward, all additional information or all additional research regarding that topic had to be done outside the United States. And that's where the Japanese started doing their research. And again, the Japanese have a medical system that's geared towards genuine disease prevention, and they do that because they were genuinely concerned about ethnic preservation. That's different from the way the Western medical healthcare system works, which never had to undergo that process. Our medical system was never based on cultural or ethnic preservation. It was based on a business model that was developed in the early 1900s, and it's continued to this day. So those are things that we have to think about. What I have to think about when I'm doing my research is, is Western medicine doing this because it's truly effective, or more effective than other options, or is it because that's the way that clinics can easily bill for it? And is it easily billable that way because of policies that have been put in place, and why were those policies put there? Okay, so in 1975, this was the study that was done by Dr. Fife. You can find this also through, I think it's available on PubMed. It might have been on a different database. What I've realized is that a lot of the oncology research isn't necessarily replicated. PubMed replicates almost all research unless it's oncology. It's interesting. I think there's political issues involved in that too. So, just food for thought. In 1999, Japanese researchers started figuring out some of the mechanisms of action with regard to hydrogen-rich water on tumor cells. And the hydrogen, which is contained in electrolyzed reduced water, that's why it's called reduced, has an effect on telomeres on tumor DNA. Telomeres are little end caps which allow DNA to replicate, and as long as the telomeres are long, they can continue replicating. They don't know exactly why it does this, but they know that electrolyzed reduced water, which is rich in hydrogen gas, suppresses telomeres on tumor cells, thereby retarding the development of the tumor.
Only tumor cells, or?
It appears to be selective.
Okay.
Not in healthy cells, only in tumor cells. They don't understand why. That's just, it appears to be selective. Okay? Now also,
so my body was in detox, and I was just hoping those symptoms would go away soon. It was a bit draining, you know, it's just because I was so in shock. My body was so acidic and unhealthy, and I didn't even realize it, you know. So my energy levels were amazing, even through the detox, even through waking up with a sore throat. And that went away after a week. I started to just feel overall healthier. I needed less sleep. Like, I honestly now, I've been on it for a month, I average about 5 hours a night, and I've never had more energy in my entire life. I wake up, I used to spend about 2 hours a day, like, just in bed, like, oh, I don't want to get up, I'm tired. I just get up out of bed the second I wake up, and I go and I start my day, and I smile the entire day, because my energy is so, like, just genuine. Like, I just feel so happy all the time now, and I can't believe it. I was so skeptical of this. Another thing I've noticed is
Loma Linda University, this is an article that was published in 2013 by Dixon and colleagues. They say that hydrogen has marked therapeutic potential to help with the top 8 out of the 10 fatality-causing diseases listed by the CDC. It's remarkable what we're finding so far. So the question then is, how does hydrogen exert these biological effects? Like I said, it has this therapeutic potential in essentially every organ of the human body, but how? How's it doing that, right? Well, one of the hypotheses or theories that we've found so far is that hydrogen neutralizes toxic radicals as a therapeutic antioxidant. And this, again, is in 2007. This is the article that I mentioned earlier that was published in Nature Medicine. You can read the title, Hydrogen Acts as an Antioxidant by Selectively Reducing Cytotoxic Hydroxyl Radicals. And so they made of course, hydroxyl radicals via the Fenton reaction against C reduction. And it was very, very, very profound what they were able to see. But note the word selective, because we're going to talk about that. First off, what are free radicals? Just so we understand, these are free radicals, have the unpaired electron, they're very reactive. Then you also have the reactive oxygen species like hydrogen peroxide, and a number of other ones that are just very strong oxidants that can cause damage, which, as you see here, they can damage RNA, DNA, protein, cell membranes, linked to cell death, and really every disease there is, neurological disorders, inflammatory disorders, cancer, diabetes, and the list goes on and on. How are these reactive oxygen species generated? Primarily in the mitochondria, primarily complex 1 and complex 3, the electron transport chain. You have oxygen reduction to superoxide, and then, of course, that can go on to form hydrogen peroxide, hydroxyl radicals, and other oxidants and pro-oxidants, which cause all these damage. But notice, most of that is in the mitochondria inside of the cell. Now, importantly, the body, as you know, has our own self-defense system. We need oxygen to breathe. I mean, how many of you are breathing right now? Well, you're doing it because you need it. And every time you breathe oxygen, though, around 2 to 4% of that oxygen can actually turn into these cytotoxic oxygen radicals that can in turn be damaging to your body. So we have to protect our bodies from this. So we have various peptides and enzymes to help protect our bodies. As you know, things like glutathione, superoxide dismutase, catalase, and a number of other things. What we're showing, though, is life, in reality, is balanced between oxidation and reduction. I mean, you can even consider it like a battery, a negative and positive charge. Life is totally balanced on this. On the one side, you have oxidation. You have all your different things from your hypochlorite, your hydrogen peroxide, superoxide, and your NAD+, NADP+, all of these different things are just all oxidants that the body needs. And then on the other side, you have reduction. And the whole body, everything is balanced right between this. Or you can have oxidative stress or reductive stress. And it's interesting, the molecules that seem to characterize oxidation reduction the most is actually oxygen and hydrogen. And when the two react together, you form the life-giving solvent water. So it's kind of a romantic story when you consider all this. And the fact that we've been focusing on oxygen all the time, but maybe missing this yin and yang type of relationship.
Business on me, and you know, the bad thing about that is you put your time, energy, and effort into something and your money, and you invest all that, and unfortunately it goes away due to poor management, lack of capital, whatever the reason. You know, most businesses fail, and then you're left to start all over again. And you know, thank goodness for me, 10 years ago, this company, I wasn't even looking for it, but it just happened to show up in my life. And you know, we actually invested in a SD501 just for personal use, was not thinking about the business. I had some other things going on in my life then. I was heading in a different direction from a job that I had to take because of those other failures in the businesses. But that all led me.
Halfway through, I'm going to put just diced garlic over it. Give some spices to the essence. And I'll put some chili. Stew now is already good, okay. As you can see, just now we only took a little bit of Kangen water to cover up the chicken, but now you can see that the chicken itself actually produced some water, and then we are going to taste the essence. Not more of the chicken soup, but it's the essence. Okay, this is the Thai. See, you can see that it's already cooked.
Another thing I've noticed is that I've always had a bit of problems with my hair being dry, brittle, not cooperating. And people have literally been stopping me on the street, asking me what products I use, telling me I have the most like beautiful hair they've ever seen. And for me, this is unheard of. Like it's so shiny and soft and just like manageable, and it's just been such an ongoing thing. I've spent thousands of dollars on hair product, hair care. And for me to be done with that, to know that all I have to do is take a shower with this Kangen machine. It's called the Enespa. My best friend bought it like the week after I got there, and I've been showering at her house and using it, and I honestly don't know how I could live without it now. I don't need conditioner. I don't need lotion on my skin. No more chemicals seeping into my body.
You can get any type of product you want to fill that spot, but people usually get the third type of product that Enagic offers, which is called the Enespa. Here's what it is. The Enespa is a shower unit that removes the poisonous chlorine and fluoride from your water while you're showering. This is very important because your skin is the biggest organ in your body, and those chemicals are being absorbed every day if you're not using something like this to clean your water before it hits your body. So the Enespa is used to remove those chemicals from the water in your shower and add the necessary minerals to make your skin and hair more healthy.
When we have the aging and certain diseases, toxins, some of these things can actually lower our body's own antioxidant self-defense system. We're going to have lower glutathione levels, lower catalase levels of different things. We're going to have an excess amount of oxidative stress in the brain, the liver, or other organs of the body causing various diseases. Now, importantly, please note this. This is a misconception that all free radicals are toxic, bad, kill you, take a million loads of antioxidants, and you're just going to live forever. This is important because free radicals, the reactive oxygen species, are very important signaling molecules. You see that they're important for signal transduction. Here's a little pathway you can memorize and go test on it later. It's important for immunity, vasodilation, nitric oxide, nitroglycerin, Viagra, all these things are all about nitric oxide. Well, you realize nitric oxide is a free radical. What a shame would it be for all of us if we utilize nitric oxide? We lose a lot of benefits. Also, the activation of transcription factors. So, importantly, like I said, lipid oxidation reduction, we have to keep that balance. Now, consider this. This is a review article. Perhaps this is why clinical trials with supplemental antioxidants often have deleterious effects. As this article clearly states, antioxidant supplements do not possess preventive effects and may be harmful with unwanted consequences to our health. Now, please note there are certain cases where high doses of maybe vitamin C here, or glutathione there, this or that, can be very effective, but in the right circumstances, in the right cases, and really a case-by-case basis. But when you really look at the literature, you'll see that for most of the part, when you're taking high levels of antioxidants, it doesn't really offer the benefits you think it ought. And there's a few reasons why. One of them, maybe it's scavenging too much of it, and maybe it's not actually getting where it needs to be in the first place. Exercise. We know exercise is medicine. That has been the cry of this last few years. Exercise is medicine. Well, guess what? When you exercise, you're breathing more oxygen. Unless you hold your breath and you breathe, and I wouldn't recommend that. Although you do get winded faster.
This handy dandy thing here, the Omega Juicer. I'm going to fire this up, and I'm going to stick these guys through here and make some juice. And I'm also, now of course you're expecting me to say this, I'm going to add some Kangen 9.5. Here we go. right, there's our fruits and veggies. They're all inside here. And the final piece, Kangen water 9.5. A little bit in here.
To heat up. And so, 1 lot of garlic. Sorry, 1 lot of onions. So, another lot of onions. As everybody knows, the onions are used to flavor the oil as well.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
A pot that's watched never boils. Here we go. The onions are beginning to sizzle. Then garlic.
As you can see, both pots are on at the same time. And, yeah.
Garlic. Yeah, they're all starting to sizzle nicely.
Mm-hmm. So as a bonus, I'm going to learn how to make carrot and tomato soup.
Well, you can make any soup.
I know. I'm not a cook, you see.
I'm keeping it to carrots and
I know.
tomatoes just so it's simple and we don't have any complications. And
It's just like been the most amazing, life-changing experience. And to top it all off, I had no financial plan getting here, and now I know that I can actually like make money in this business while improving my health, improving the health of people I care about, and improving the health of strangers. I just recently, like today actually, got the phone call and was approved by MediCard, so I'm getting my machine, and then a month later I'm like my water machine just for the drinking water and all the other things that it does, and then I'm getting my Enespa, my very own Enespa, because my best friend and I have just moved into our own place, and we're getting the Enespa and the machine together, and I'm just very excited for it all. I just can't believe the opportunities I've been given and all the amazing, like, enlightened.
To the point where, you know, if it didn't happen the way it did, my business wouldn't have taken off as fast as it did in Enagic. And, you know, when you get the water in you, people get amazing results. And it just started to spread from one friend of mine who got amazing results in his family to, you know, this guy went crazy and had 27 people join him in the business in the first 30 days. Wow. I decided maybe this is a good business then. And decided just to copy what he did and expose massive amount of people in the next 30 days. So that was the key to our success. All out massive action in a shortened period of time. We exposed probably 60 people in the first 30 days. Some people might take a year to do that, but look at the difference. We did it in 30 days. If you do a burst of all-out massive action, you shorten the time it takes to get results, whether that be physically, financially, or the whole package, you know, of total health. And when you get a fast story, by doing that, it attracts more people to you, and then it continues to make your story and your business grow even faster. So if I have a word of advice to anybody, no matter how much time you're devoting to the business, some of you may only have an hour, but do it, you know, do it every day and focus on that time that you're devoting to your business. Do it every day consistently and with maximum effort, doing income producing activities, and you'll get the fastest results possible when you do it that way.
The fact is, when you exercise, you produce more free radicals, and these free radicals, reactive oxygen species, are very important for your training benefits. Increased mitochondrial biogenesis, increased vascularization. All of these different things really can be mediated by these free radicals. And guess what? Conventional antioxidants may actually negate the benefits of exercise training. They've shown studies of people taking high doses of vitamin C, for example, that can blunt the improved insulin sensitivity after a bout of exercise. Or maybe a 10-week exercise program with endurance training. Well, all of a sudden, they don't have a higher VO2 max, or they don't have as much of the mitochondrial biogenesis as they ought to have because they're taking so much antioxidants. So all of these things are very important to consider with patients with chronic diseases who may be suffering in their cells oxidative stress. Consider this, that in the cell, there's a new article published, I think in Science, that showed that you can have a cell that in one compartment, say the endoplasmic reticulum, which, you know, that's important, the ER is important for protein folding, right? And protein misfolding is like, what is the cause of aging and everything? Well, guess what? As you age, the ER, the endoplasmic reticulum, actually loses its stability, its oxidative power, its oxidative potential. It doesn't have enough because there's not as much oxidative potential. So again, we have to have that oxidative potential. So in the ER, we're having not enough oxidative potential, but in the cytosol, we're having too much oxidative potential. So in the exact same cell, we're having a dysregulation of redox homeostasis. See the issue? So the question you all have is, well then, Tyler, why are you trying to talk about hydrogen gas as an antioxidant if antioxidants aren't so good for us? Well, that's a good question. Let me answer that. First off, notice the article. It's selective antioxidant. It's really only going to have the most cytotoxic or cell-damaging free radicals, such as the hydroxyl radical. Okay, all the other ones, superoxide radical, look, that's not very reactive. And it's going to be regulated by the body. It has superoxide mutate, that does mutate that to form hydrogen peroxide, and then you have hydrogen peroxide. Well, that's not very reactive either. It's actually aquaportin channels, hydrogen peroxide goes into assimilating things, and then catalase with peroxidase takes care of that. All these things are regulated by the body. Hydroxyl radicals, on the other hand, are reduced and just produce kill. That's what they do. That's why they live and die. They die killing you. So let's not do that. Let's scavenge those things with hydrogen gas. And this is the other thing, even if we're scavenging too much hydroxyl radical, let's do some physics and chemistry. Look at the rate constants. Typical radical reactions are on the order of 10 to 10. These are the hydroxyl radicals from hydrogen peroxide 10 to 10. The rate constant are 10 to 10. Notice the last one. Hydrogen gas against the hydroxyl radicals 10 to 7. 3 orders of magnitude lower. And plus, the concentration of hydrogen gas in the cells is often very low, micromolar amounts. So even at that, you're not going to be scavenging an excessive amount of these important biological assimilating molecules. But it can do it under the right circumstances, such as when there's oxidative stress, not just oxidative things going on, because again, that's key and essential to our whole being. Now, this is a very important slide. I'm going to talk about each one of these points. Please note what hydrogen gas is and how it's more beneficial than your conventional antioxidants. First off, we have rapid diffusion. Hydrogen gas is highest diffusivity of all gases, really of anything. Okay? Consider the fact that it's the smallest molecule in the universe. It's just 2 hydrogen atoms, 2 electrons and 2 protons. It's neutral, so therefore it's hydrophobic. Well, we know that if it's hydrophobic or neutral, it's going to be able to get through the cell membranes very easily, as opposed to other antioxidants maybe are lipophilic. And there's no byproduct, it's just water. As you know, hydrogen gas reacts with hydroxyl radicals, and the byproduct is water. We're talking about that in a little more detail. Let's look at this slide here. We have the big red thing, that's the hydroxyl radical, and then we have the little blue dot, hydrogen gas. Notice where those big bang, little blue red things are. Those are inside the cell, the nucleus, the mitochondria. Okay, that's where those are at. So that's where we have to get those antioxidants. Well, let's look at the blue diamond. Those are hydrophobic antioxidants. If they're hydrophobic, they're fat soluble. Therefore, it's going to be a little harder for them to get in the cytosol of the cell, where it's more of this aqueous, water-soluble things, because it's things like vitamin A, that's going to be where in the cell membrane. It's not going to want to go into, say, the nucleus or go all the way into the mitochondria. You see the problems? So therefore, it's not really going to get to where these hydroxyl radicals are being produced in complex 1 or 3 or in the TCA cycle of succinate dehydrogenase or things. The other problem is hydrophilic antioxidants. Okay, so how are you going to go through the cell membrane? Because remember, that's made out of fats. Well, now we have to have various transporters and all these different things. It changes the whole rate constants of getting the vitamins to the radicals where the problems are actually taking place. So now maybe we can see how we're causing reductive stress in some places and a continuation of oxidative stress in other compartments. Whereas hydrogen gas, smallest molecule, it's hydrophobic, it's neutral. So it can diffuse through all these subcellular compartments and membranes, the blood-brain barrier, testis barrier, placental barrier, all these things very easily, where it can actually react with these hydroxyl radicals and convert them to water, which is, the last thing, that's the byproduct is water. Think about it. When you have something like vitamin C, if vitamin C donates its electrons, it's not vitamin C anymore. It's an oxidized form, right? And so now the body has to rejuvenate that, which is going to use up NADPH equivalents or glutathione or other things. It's got to metabolize it. It's got to eliminate it. It's got to do something, or else now that could be a potential toxic pro-oxidant or of some byproduct or whatever. The body's got to clear it, right? Versus hydrogen gas, it's going to react to these hydroxyl radicals, and the byproduct is simply water. I mean, some people even drink that stuff.
And I'm going to deep fry it. I'm going to air fry it. This is the wings that we soak it and wash it with beauty water. Okay. I'll air fry this first.
And I'm just very excited for it all. And I just can't believe the opportunities I've been given and all the amazing, like, enlightened, healthy people I've met along the way. Like, we have the meetings on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and I just can't wait to attend more and learn more. I'm not going to get into the business so much, but just my own personal journey and what I personally have benefited and seen from this Kangen water. It's unlike anything. I've never been so, like, passionate about my health before. Like, I don't crave junk food. I used to, like, be one of those late night eaters. I'd go out drinking and I'd stop and get pizza or just anything. Like, I find that my body is just so happy. Like, it's like drinking this water makes you feel alive. I feel that I was not living before and I didn't know how toxic I was. And now, like,
You ever tried juicing before? It's a little bit of effort, as you've seen here, but trust me, this is some of the healthiest stuff you can put in your body. And honestly, it's pretty tasty. There you go.
completely cystic acne free skin, compliments on my hair. Like, I've been losing weight. Like, my midsection is a lot smaller, I've been noticing. And
good luck finding a healthier snack than this. Oh. Honestly, it's really good.
it's just really amazing. So this is only 1 month into drinking the 9.5 Kangen water. And for those of you that were very toxic like me, I would recommend starting on the 8.5 or the 9.0 pH because the detox I went through was a little bit intense and I was a bit scared. I switched down to 8.5 for 3 days, then went right back to 9.5. I was like, I may as well just get the detox over with. But so yeah, like, you know.
Fire them up a little bit.
Okay, now I shall use 2 glasses like this.
Okay.
First to know how much water we have. First of all, we take
Kangen water.
Kangen water.
Let it run a little bit first.
Right.
Okay, and then we take it down.
Okay.
Yeah. It's Kangen water.
Right. Full.
Okay. That's Kangen water.
Kangen water.
Yeah.
Which one do you want me to put Kangen water in?
Find this one.
This one.
Yeah.
All right. And then tap water.
That's tap water. Here's the record.
Okay.
Yeah. The bowl on the left, you have Kangen water
and tap water.
So we've got exactly 1 cup each.
Well, I'll probably
need more.
Put 1 more.
Okay.
Just.
And then you leave it to boil. Huh?
Yeah. So let's do.
Let me get the Kangen water.
Okay, you get the Kangen water.
Kangen water 9.5.
Because we lose some water in the cooking.
Sure. 1 more glass?
Yeah, fill up the glass.
So we have the same measurement.
Okay.
Yeah? So we take the same amount on the
And
other
then
side.
tap water.
Yep. That is Kangen. And that's tap water.
Singapore water.
Yep.
Right. Okay. That's it.
Then what do you do?
Now we need to put some salt and some pepper.
Oh, okay.
Half a teaspoon of sea salt. I'm not a big fan of salt.
Mm-hmm.
Half a
Half a
teaspoon.
teaspoon.
Half a teaspoon.
Okay.
And a bit of pepper. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay.
So we've got the same amount of pepper.
Stir it about. Cover that up.
And how long do we need to cook this for?
I would say about 45 minutes.
Okay, so we're just going to
Let it
simmer.
well, first of all, we'll bring it to a boil,
Mm-hmm.
and then we will let it simmer. Right?
Okay.
Now, where is the cover? Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so we're going to leave this there for about
45 minutes. It is
And then
now a quarter to 11.
Now,
Almost. Right? So 11:30,
okay, so we'll come back with a
we will come back and check.
Time now is 11:05. The soup has been boiling for about 20 minutes, so I'm going to go over there and let's see how it looks.
And that's what it looks like at the moment.
That's what it looks like. Both of them.
Yeah, it's bubbling quite nicely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's big number. Yeah. And we'll come back to it again in another 15 minutes or so.
Yep.
I'm going with the dog. Far from the matter of forevermore. I'm going with the star. Feel the sweat slip out of every pore. And I know that I'm swallowed out 'cause my blood is red. I'm gonna stick to you till I'm
Time now is about 11:25. The soup has been boiling for about 45 minutes.
45 minutes, yeah.
Yeah.
And
So now it looks.
that's what we have. So everything is looking. Everything has
good.
been cooked. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Now we can turn off the fire.
Yep.
Then we let it sit for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll put it in the blender
Sure.
and get the soup.
And then we get the soup and it's good. Cool. So we're just going to let this sit to cool
Yeah,
down.
otherwise it's too hot to work with.
Sure, sure. Okay, so I was looking this from Kangen water, and that's normal water. Okay.
Right.
Okay, it's the Kangen water.
Right.
So now all it's gonna do is put it inside and blend it. done.
Beauty of a high-speed blender.
No? Yeah. Looks like it.
All right. So there's your blended soup.
Yeah, you want to scrape as much as you can out of it.
Hmm?
So there's no too much of mixture.
No, I'm going to clean this.
Okay.
I'm going to wash it.
Okay. That's
Right?
the
Wash this.
that's the Kangen soup. Now. No other special ingredients, huh? Just simple enough. I can make this at home. I've learned something.
Now this is a bit more difficult to handle than that.
This is the plain water. Everything goes in, just like the other one. Okay,
Okay.
that's done. And that's done.
It looks exactly the same.
Yeah, it does look exactly the same.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now for the taste.
yeah. So that's with Kangen, and this is with normal water.
Yep.
Like, you know, I'm just happy I'm getting my own machine. I'm getting the new K8, which is the very best of the best. It's the newer machine, so it's not been around as long, and it's absolutely beautiful and shiny, and it's going to look great in our place. So I am buying that today, and I can't wait.
The K8 is Enagic's flagship product and is licensed as medical equipment in Japan. Enagic's compensation plan is called the 8-point system, and it is so unique that it is patented. 8 points are paid out per machine, so it's about a 54% markup. Instead of paying for marketing, Enagic has decided to pay you as a distributor. This is your brand new K8. On your first 2 direct referrals, you get paid $340 each and become a 1A. In doing so, you have just opened up 2 $340 franchises.
Now, importantly though, hydrogen gas does reduce oxidative stress, because we're talking about all these things about why hydrogen gas is selectivity, the rate constants. Well then, does it really work? And what I did is, like I said, there's over 600 articles now. I've read every single one of them, and I've gone through and I've done all this stuff, and I just took some of the neat things and I kind of prepared this table. So here we see markers of oxidative stress. This table comes from cells, from tissues studies, from animal studies and human studies, and this is where hydrogen gas can do its thing in the right conditions, in the right cases. Remember, if you have normal MDA levels, which is malondialdehyde, which is a marker of oxidative stress, hydrogen gas is not going to reduce it. It's not going to do it because it's a mild reductant, and you don't want to reduce oxidative stress more than you need to, okay? So, markers of oxidative stress, these are very common markers. MDA, T-bars, 8OD, HDG, the marker of DNA damage, all these different ones, hydrogen gas showing it can reduce oxidative stress. On the other side, check that out, markers of antioxidant status. Hydrogen gas actually able to increase or upregulate to bring back to homeostasis our body's own antioxidant enzymes such as superoxide dismutase, glutathione, catalase, glutathione peroxidase, glutathione S-transferase, glutathione reductase. All of these things hydrogen gas also helps to do, which we'll talk about here in a little bit as well. Now there are 3 ways hydrogen gas is able to do this to reduce the oxidative stress. One of them, as I said before, hydrogen gas may actually be scavenging these hydroxyl radicals, as is shown in the Nature article. And again, you form water. Another one is hydrogen gas can actually activate what's called the NRF2 or NRF2 pathway, which is it's a transcription factor, right? The whole antioxidant response element part of the DNA. Hydrogen gas can activate the NRF2 pathway, which leads to an increased production of superoxide dismutase, glutathione, catalase, and subsequent induction of heme-1 oxygenase, which again is extremely cytoprotective. And somehow that does it. Notice I have a question mark. That is what intrigues me. I want to know, how is it doing that? Okay, what is the primary target? Some kind of iron sulfur cluster here, it's going to, or cell membrane volume type thing, it's going to attach to that and do its little magic. It's amazing, you know. I was at Nagoya for a few months doing research there, and so I was able to actually research some of these signaling pathways and whatnot, and seeing how hydrogen gas is actually changing the different levels. And I'm like, okay, how's it doing it? How is this doing it? It's mind-boggling. It's awesome. Okay, so going on, hydrogen may also prevent this excessive amounts of reactive oxygen species by actually preventing them from forming in the first place via cell modulation. Here we have like a NOx system, NADPH oxidase. On the one side we see it's activated. When it's activated, the complex is glued together. It's not really glue, super glue, you know, we don't have that in our cells. But for the sake of this, they're stuck together, and when it's activated like that, we're reducing oxygen to form superoxide, and the superoxide can go on to form various other radicals that are very damaging. And when that's heightened, when that's activated via inflammation or various pathologies or diseases, we're going to have more and more oxidative stress, maybe reductive stress somewhere else, and the whole, again, dysregulation of redox homeostasis. Well, hydrogen gas, in the right circumstances, can actually downregulate this NADPH oxidase system, thus preventing ROS formation in the first place. Now, don't we say prevention is better than better than treatment? Well, here's hydrogen. It's a smart guy, you know. It's simple, humble, but you know, it's doing what it does best.
We're doing, the first one he's taking is Kangen water.
Tap water.
Okay, this is from tap water.
Julie, a minute, please.
So,
can you taste these two?
This is Julie.
And this is Julie, right? And
Say hi.
tell me which one you
Julie.
think
Hi.
is better. Which one you want to taste first?
This one?
Yeah?
Taste both.
No, I'm not going to tell you which is which.
Okay.
You just have to taste, right? And then this one. You can taste that, and then you can try them both.
Tell us what you feel, if you feel any difference.
Which is richer?
This one?
This one is richer.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You sure?
This one is
Well, that's the Kangen water.
That's the Kangen water.
Yeah.
Well,
and more tasty.
more tasty? What's the difference?
It's more creamy.
More creamy, okay.
Tasty.
And
This
tasty.
one, it's just ordinary soup.
Okay.
This one better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the one which is.
All right.
That's the one which is Kangen water.
Good. Right.
Good. Very
Yeah.
good. Thank you.
It's a good palate.
Yeah, it's a good palate.
Well done.
Some amount of heat.
So, and then you, after 10 years later, you know, investing in one SD501, now we probably bought 10 of them.
Wow.
And so, but it spread to something like 50,000 people over the last 10 years and growing now by record amounts. every month. I think we just got our report for last month. There was over 1,200 units last month. We almost had another record month. Our record so far is 2 months ago at 1,280 units for the month. And that's just all our team effort. And without an amazing team, we wouldn't be sitting where we're at today. So
don't let anyone tell you what you must do. Do you like what you see? It doesn't make you cry. Use your imagination to start a fire. Hear that sound? There's a fight to be found, yeah. Make changes go round. Hear that sound? And my selfish ways disappear one day. With a realization of a new way. Images are free, coming into view. Our hearts full of promises of all we can do. Hear that sound? There's a voice to be found, yeah. Make the changes go round. Hear that sound? So a time has come till you watch the fools. Don't let anyone tell you what you must do. Do you like what you see? It doesn't make you cry. Use your imagination. Start a fire. Oh, hear that sound? There's a voice to be found, yeah. Make the changes go round. Hear that sound? Hear that sound? There's a voice to be found, yeah. Make the changes go round. Hear that sound? Hear that sound? There's a voice to be found, yeah. Make the changes go round. Hear that sound?
You know what, Bobby, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you letting people know what it is because, you know, often myself, I've been in a lot of companies myself and it does go up and down. You go, oh my gosh, it's like a roller coaster, right? And what I realize is it's focus. You gotta consistently focus on what you want on a regular basis.
Sure.
And once you get that focus, you also have to have a product that can pay you. Because, you know, if the product doesn't pay you, you're in trouble.
Right.
You know?
It's no fun to make $1 here, $2 there,
No.
$5 here, like most network marketing or direct sales company. But when you have an incredible product that really works and really changes lives and people notice a difference.
Okay, now Piru's turn for the test. All right, Piru.
Yeah.
Which would you like?
Okay.
First.
Let me try this. the test. It's kind of.
Yep, correct. Yeah, that's much better, huh?
Yeah, much better.
I mean, well, so what are you tasting? What?
A bit more full bodied.
Yeah. What about flavors?
Yeah, it's a bit more sweeter, stronger taste of the carrot and all that. So they're both nice. That makes it even more difficult. This is comes across as being a tad lighter, you know, less full bodied than this.
Right.
Yeah, it's just a tad.
Okay, well done.
Give it up one more time. Sing the hook. I'm going far along. Civilization never couldn't hold me back. They're gonna rip it off. I'm taking that time right behind my back. And I'm talking to myself at night because I can't forget. Back and forth through my mind behind a cigarette. And the message coming from my house is a little wrong. Don't wanna hear about it. Every single one of you's got a story to tell.
And happy as I have been for the first time in my life, and I just want to thank
Everyone knows about it. From the Queen of England to the Hound of Hell. And if I catch you coming back my way, I'm gonna serve it to you.
About how to get this amazing water, this amazing product, let me know. Bobby, you want to say anything?
Change your water, change your life.
Boom, boom, he said it.
Everyone knows about it. From the Queen of England to the Hound of Hell. And if I catch you coming back my way, I'm gonna serve it to you. And that ain't what you're trying to hear, but that's what I do. And the feeling coming from my bones says down on. Hey!
this is interesting. Many of us have heard of these, natural healing waters and all this kind of hocus pocus stuff. Actually, some of these waters, though, have been documented to have potential therapeutic benefits. And when you go back to the waters, and some scientists have gone back there, and they've actually tested these waters to see what's in them, and guess what they found? Hydrogen gas. Now, hydrogen gas could be in the waters via maybe anaerobic bacteria or basalt catalyzed reaction from the various metals in the water, but some of these waters contain small amounts of hydrogen gas. So it's pretty interesting. And now, let's talk about how natural or safe hydrogen gas is just for a little bit. The fact is, every time we eat our fiber in our meals and our foods and vegetables, the bacteria in our intestines, and you know the story, bacteria is like extremely important. It's like been going on for decades now about how important this bacteria is for us with microflora. One of the reasons why is because of when you eat your fruits and vegetables or fiber, non-digestible carbohydrates, you're producing hydrogen gas, and you're getting as much as 10 liters of H2 per day, and you have a higher breath ppm. And so therefore you have micromolar levels of hydrogen gas. So therefore you have a basal level of hydrogen gas in your blood since the dawn of time, if you were alive back then. Now, this is actually so hydrogen gas from your bacteria does indeed have a therapeutic effect. In fact, in 1988, based upon the redox potentials in the Nernst equation, hydrogen gas was suggested to be an antioxidant from the bacteria. In 2009, it was confirmed by a report from the Force Institute in Boston, Massachusetts, and the University of Florida. This is an awesome study, all the good. They took these, it was rodents or rats, and they of course had bacteria. It's the E. coli, it's called the hydrogenase enzyme that can produce hydrogen gas. And when they gave lactulose, which is a non-digestible carbohydrate, the bacteria metabolizes that lactulose, produces a obscene amount of hydrogen gas, and all these benefits are seen, protection of the liver. Well, they took these E. coli, did a genetic knockout, so they removed the genes that produces the hydrogenase, they put the bacteria back in the rats, and then they gave lactulose. Now, the bacteria still has the rats, the bacteria has the rats, the rats have the bacteria, and you give the fiber to them. So you think, okay, they still got the bacteria, so they should be fine, and guess what? The therapeutic benefits are like negated, eliminated, gone. It's like, that's interesting. Well, when they put the bacteria back in that had the hydrogenase enzyme and gave lactulose, all the benefits were reinstated. Thus suggesting that, again, hydrogen gas is maybe a primary method or a reason why fiber is so good for us. Okay? This is crazy. This is awesome. This is from NAC's publication of Physical Chemistry Literature. This is a hypothesis based on physics and whatnot, but actually, resveratrol, we heard about it, it's very good for us. Nobody really knows the exact molecular mechanisms of why, how it works, but there was an article that suggests that maybe the benefits of resveratrol are actually mediated by the production of hydrogen gas, because in the mitochondria, you have electron leak, and the electron leak can donate electron to parts of the polyphenol groups of the resveratrol, and then you have dissociated electron attachment, and therefore you have production of hydrogen gas, which can then go and scavenge hydroxyl radicals right there where they're being formed. So, and there's a number of other articles that are coming out saying, well, then that's the case, and this one could work too, because you do the calculations, and then, hey, this makes sense. So again, this is kind of groundbreaking stuff here. So method of administration, we have, of course, you do hydrogen-rich saline, so you have saline, and you have full of hydrogen gas in there, and they've done studies on that. Ingestion of hydrogen-rich water, where you can simply bubble hydrogen gas into the water, which isn't too practical. There's methods to get it via electrolysis. They have hydrogen-producing tablets. They're made of metallic magnesium, so not like a magnesium chloride or something, but an actual metallic magnesium that reacts with the water to form magnesium hydroxide and hydrogen gas. And many people have been using that with remarkable benefits. Well, they put the tablet in the water, and people can do like a 1 tablet a day daily maintenance. And for you practitioners, if you have looking for somebody with pathologies or whatnot, they can take another 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. The DRI of magnesium is 500 milligrams, and most of these tablets contain around 50-55 milligrams of magnesium or so. So you just put it in the water. If it effervesces, produces a ton of hydrogen gas, and the patient can drink that, and you start seeing a lot of benefits. So it's pretty easy for administration. And then, of course, there's inhalation of hydrogen gas. You know who that handsome guy is? Not that he's handsome, but who's judging? But it is me. I lectured in, I gave a talk in Beijing at the Biomedical Hydrogen Symposium. No, actually, I was there earlier in Shanghai. That's where this was taken at. I was meeting just with the company. They wanted to talk about hydrogen research and different things. And they have this machine. This is a big daddy, and they have these various medical clinics there in China, and people go in there and they inhale the hydrogen gas. And it's amazing the things that they have found. They've collected over 20,000 patients worth of data, case study after case study after case study. I met a woman. I saw a video of her first, and the whole thing about her. But then I actually met her when I went to do my inhalation therapy, because I'm actually 55 years old. If you didn't know, but I've been doing hydrogen for a while. So when I went to do I went to do this inhalation, and I got to meet her, and what happened with her is she got a stroke. That's the unfortunate part, but there's good news. She had the stroke. They had the brain imaging, and it was just totally messed up. She was actually paralyzed like a lot in her left side of her body. Couldn't really move her left hand. Couldn't walk, or do very much stuff. She immediately started hydrogen inhalation, and within a few days later that week, she regained mobility back. She could walk up the stairs all by herself. She could move her left arm. And there's case after case after case of people who are like in a coma, ready to die, take them off oxygen, all of a sudden put them on hydrogen inhalation therapy, and they wake up a few hours later, start doing better. I mean, it's just like, I don't even believe this stuff, but it's like right here, and there's so much empirical evidence. I'm like, okay, this is awesome. I believe the Chinese FDA just gave the FDA clearance, the medical approval, so they can sell to medical hospitals there in China. So it's enormous, all the amount of research, things that are going on at very high levels. Now let's go to just some of the studies so you can see what are the studies actually showing. First I wanted to compare the superiority of hydrogen to other antioxidants. Here we have the long-term treatment of hydrogen-rich saline abates testicular oxidative stress induced by nicotine in mice. It's an epidemic. People using tobacco, smoking, and that causes testicle problems. And if you want those and save them, then this is a good option for you. But if you compare this to other antioxidants, so this is very powerful. On this far graph, we have T, which stands for Tyler, and that's for testosterone. First, we have the control, and that's the normal range you want to be at. And then you have no treatment, right? You get the nicotine, and you notice I just plumped it right down. It's like those to these things, and they always get stars. I'm like, that's like contradictory, because I was got stars and good things. So it plumps it right down. And then you get hydrogen gas, it just brings it back up, and no star for you. Maintaining that hydrogen gas, the testosterone levels right where they need to be. When you gave vitamin C or vitamin A, there was no statistical improvement. Same thing with sperm motility and sperm concentration. Again, the hydrogen gas shows superiority. The similar finding was found with the effect of vitamin C and vitamin E on hydrogen on the placental function in trophoblast. So people with preeclampsia, for example, the hydrogen gas was shown to have a beneficial effect on HCG. But vitamin C and vitamin E did a little bit as well. However, if you look at you can go look at this article, but it was shown that vitamin C and vitamin E actually suppress cell viability, so they're like not living as well. It increased immune response to tumor necrosis factor alpha and other problems. Whereas hydrogen gas didn't have any of those side effects. It just had a beneficial effect on HCG. This is very interesting because radiation is a big topic. All the damages come from this dimension, like NASA with the astronauts. It's an interesting concept. Here we're showing the concentrations of OHCG, which is a mention of the marker of DNA damage. This is really cool. When you look at this first graph, where you have a marker, you're about 0.7 or so. When you give, that's pretty normal people, right? No hydrogen gas is given, this is actually an animal model, but no hydrogen gas is given, no radiation is given, and that's the normal level, if you will, of that marker, right? So you always have just like small amounts of inflammation that you need to have a little bit of this. So that's what that was. When you gave hydrogen gas and no radiation, look how much hydrogen gas affected that. Not really anything at all. Do you see the benefit in that? You notice when you take maybe other pharmaceuticals or drugs or different things, and then that just is going to go in there and just decrease it, increase it. Well, that could be bad because we want to maintain homeostasis. Hydrogen gas really doesn't perturb homeostasis. If it's where it needs to be, it's going to stay there. And that actually is one of the reasons why hydrogen gas is so difficult to study. With many drugs, things you can take your cell, you throw the drug or the compound in there, and then you can do your study, and you can see how that affected the cell in your in vitro system or something. Whereas hydrogen gas is a little more complicated because you can't easily do that. You almost have to induce some sort of toxin or some salt to it or something, and then see how hydrogen gas attenuated or mitigated those effects. So you have all these more variables to look at because hydrogen gas really does not dysregulate or perturb the normal homeostasis. It's not going to reduce things when it should not be, and because of those things, that is why one of the reasons why it's difficult to study the molecular mechanisms of hydrogen gas. But importantly, this is what you really want to know is that really big graph there. That's when you gave the radiation. So now we have tons of DNA damage, and the person's dying. It's probably already dead. But when you gave the hydrogen gas, you see it just decreased that very significantly. This hydrogen gas really has a very wide breadth of uses. Of course, for athletes as well. Here's a pilot study on the effects of drinking hydrogen-rich water on muscle fatigue caused by acute exercise in elite athletes. This is very interesting. They showed, they had the beneficial on the fatigue. They showed less lactic acid or lactate. There's not really lactic acid, the myth thing. We don't need to get into that. But the thing is, they showed a decrease in lactate. Not that lactate is bad, but what that shows is, remember, when you make ATP, you use the glycolysis, or you use the mitochondria through the electron transport chain. Mitochondria produces a lot more ATP. When you're exercising really hard, you start producing all these free radicals. All those free radicals can make damage to the mitochondria, compromise it. Now you have less ATP out of your mitochondria. So maybe you need to start relying more on glycolysis. And so now you're going to start producing more acid via hydrolysis of ATP and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and different things. Now your acid is going to increase. Different things are going to happen. And now you have more lactate is going to be produced. This whole lactic acid, but it's really lactate, is going to be produced. And that's what you see. So what hydrogen gas is showing that there's not as much lactate production. that may be because hydrogen gas may actually be stimulating the mitochondria and protecting it from being damaged. So now you can maintain normal ATP levels. Now you can still rely on your mitochondria for your ATP needs instead of the glycolysis. And of course, when you consider the fact that how important ATP is for everything, ATP, as you know, is the energy currency of the cell. If you put the needs of the ATP in what we really need, you need about the same pounds of ATP that you weigh. So if you weigh 150 pounds, you need about 150 pounds of ATP per day. That's how much is resynthesized in your millions and millions of mitochondria and your cells. That's a lot. And a serious athlete who's doing like a marathon or something, they may need twice that ATP, so up to 300 pounds of ATP. Okay, so the mitochondria plays a very large role, and so being able to protect the mitochondria is extremely important. And in fact, that's what we see here. H2 stimulates mitochondrial function. This is an allograft, cardiac allograft article, but it's very good graphs. We wanted to show this. Complex 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5. All of these things, you know, with the electron transport chain, so hydrogen gas can actually stimulate them. In fact, even beyond control, the control in some cases, which when you stimulate these complexes, you're going to have higher ATP levels, which shows, again, here you see even above control, you have higher ATP levels. Mitochondria does seem to be a major place that hydrogen gas is exerting some of these therapeutic benefits. This is a very powerful study. This is pretty cool. The maternal molecular hydrogen administration ameliorates rat fetal hippocampal damage caused by uteroischemia reperfusion. Okay, so when the mother's delivering the baby, sometimes you can have an IR injury or different things, and that's going to cause a lot of brain damage to the infant, and that could be very very sad and very damaging. So look at these graphs. Here we have the sham. And that means, you know, the delivery went perfect, everything was totally fine. And then you have the IR, the ischemia perfusion injury. And you notice on the x-axis, the degenerated cells are just, you know, very high. They just really go up there because you have this IR injury. Now, then you can have the mother drink the hydrogen-rich water, because you can't really have the baby drink because it's in the stomach, and that'd be kind of awkward. So the mother's actually drinking the hydrogen-rich water, and maybe because, again, hydrogen gas is so small, it can just penetrate the placenta and everything very easily. But look what happened. When the mother drank the hydrogen-rich water and the IR injury was given, it made it as though it's like the IR injury never happened. And when I saw that, I was like, yeah, I don't believe it. But actually, you see the third author, Ono K, that's Kinji Ono, and he's my guy in Nagoya University, and I trust what he does immensely. So I was like, okay, it must be true, but I'm still going to call him on it. It's remarkable, some of the things that we're finding. This again, I'm going to go through just a couple abstracts. You know, look at the title a little bit. Hydrogen supplemental air. So again, we have air inhalation. Actually, can reduce the changes of pro-oxidant enzyme and gap junction protein levels after transient global cerebral ischemia in the rat hippocampus. So again, back to the neurological issues. This one here showed had the expression of COX-2 and the connexins and proteins were actually upregulated, while the neural nitric oxide synthase, which can cause a lot of damage if that's too high, was actually downregulated after 3 days after the injury that was given. So hydrogen gas, again, helpful in this area. Molecular hydrogen in drinking water protects against neurodegenerative changes induced by traumatic brain injury. This is from the University of Washington and Wisconsin and a couple organizations. This is an amazing article. It's still kind of difficult to believe, but these are pretty good researchers. But they found that hydrogen gas is really was protective on the mitochondria and the ATP production. And actually, they suggested that hydrogen gas could actually increase ATP levels via what's called the Jagendorf reaction, which is interesting. It's in the mitochondria. It doesn't really rely on the electron transport chain. We don't need to go into that, but it's pretty interesting what we're finding here. The oral intake of hydrogen-rich water ameliorated chlorophyllus-induced neurotoxicity in rats. That's just an organophosphate, a normal pesticide, and it's a big deal. These pesticides hurting us, all this kind of stuff. And I guess there's some debate about that, but what we see, though, is hydrogen gas can actually offer some protection against the neurotoxicity caused by this stuff. In this article, it did so by activating the acetylcholinesterase activity, which again is difficult to believe because that's already has the very high K-cap. But I actually talked to the researcher who did this when I was in Beijing, and I talked about her results, and she went on about them. She did numerous experiments, and I was like, oh no, but they're really going after this stuff, and regardless, that was her kind of mechanism how it's working. Regardless, though, hydrogen gas was protective in this area. Here, hydrogen-rich water protects against ischemic brain injury in rats by regulating calcium buffering proteins. So again, we have this whole brain injuries and things, which again is a huge issue these days. Hydrogen gas is very neuroprotective. This is awesome. Hydrogen-rich water ameliorates amyloid beta-induced neurotoxicities like Alzheimer's, for example. This is through the upregulation of SIRT1 FOXO3A by stimulation of AMP-activated protein kinase SNK and MC cells. So that's awesome because, of course, the SIRT1 protein is it's okay. I understand. It's awesome though. Here, hydrogen-rich water improves neurological function through the attenuation of the blood-brain barrier disruption and spontaneously hypertensive rats. So that would be one of the reasons why hydrogen gas also can help continue the blood-brain barrier. We know it's a big inhibitor disruption of that, hypertension or stroke or what have you. Hydrogen gas may be able to ameliorate some of those things. Oral hydrogen water induces neuroprotective ghrelin secretion. Ghrelin, the hunger hormone, right? This is very interesting. You've heard about the benefits of fasting before, the intermittent fasting and different things of this nature. Well, one of the reasons that fasting is beneficial for you is because you increase ghrelin. And ghrelin is the second message. Being protective and neuroprotective has lots and lots of benefits. So one of the reasons fasting is good for you because you have ghrelin. Well, one of the reasons drinking hydrogen-rich water is good for you is because you also enact after ghrelin secretion. And that ghrelin in turn acts as a second messenger to go and help different parts of the brain. Actually, in Parkinson's disease studies that I've talked about again, it was most likely ghrelin that acted as a second messenger to offer that side protective effect to the system Enagic, even more so than hydrogen gas so indirectly via the second messenger ghrelin. Here it is right here, pilot study of H2 therapy in Parkinson's disease, a randomized double-blind placebo-controlled trial. This is a 48 trial they did, and awesome results. And of course, I've heard of there's anecdotal case reports of people taking the hydrogen-producing tablets. They'll put them in the water in people with Parkinson's disease. Often what I would say is it's not going to give a reversal of the Parkinson's, but maybe a better quality of life, maybe decrease the aging that's going to occur, or the downward spiral that generally occurs in Parkinson's disease. However, I've heard quite a few reports now, people who are taking the hydrogen, that they're have the symptoms. You can see they have the symptoms, and then after a few weeks or whatever of them taking the hydrogen, they totally don't even have that anymore, and they wouldn't be diagnosed as having the Parkinson's disease. So I guess in some cases maybe it is possible to have these types of reversals. Hydrogen-rich water enhances the 5-FU, which is a chemotherapy drug, inhibition of colon cancer. This is very powerful. Chemotherapy, widely used. It's very toxic, of course, to cancer cells. Hopefully that's the goal, but also to our cells. And first off, a lot of studies are showing that hydrogen gas can actually protect the negative side effects of various chemotherapy drugs, like renal-induced neurotoxicity, some different things. So hydrogen gas can protect against the negative side effects of drugs like aspirin-induced gastric mucosal injury, chemotherapy. In this study, hydrogen gas actually offered an additive effect of the chemotherapy drug, where this is a colon cancer in rats, but hydrogen gas, when you gave the drug, there was this much effect, and when you gave hydrogen gas and the drug, there was an additive effect, and hydrogen gas alone could help a little bit. And it depends on the cell line of cancer. There's a lot of issues with cancer. That's why it's called cancer. Here, this is pretty powerful here. Consumption of hydrogen-rich water prevents atherosclerosis and polyprotein E knockout mice. So when they have this genetic knockout, they're going to get atherosclerosis very easily. Hydrogen, this is part of the quote here. The authors in the article still compared these results with the things. The efficacy of hydrogen water seems to be greater than folic acid, vitamin E, iron, alpha-lipoic acid, and other things in the prevention of this atherosclerosis. So again, very powerful. Now, briefly, again, the safety. It's very well established. In at least all cases, there's really no toxicity that we have found so far. I mean, it has been, there's like hundreds of studies already on therapeutic applications. The fact that using deep sea diving in the 1940s for decompression sickness is normally like nitrogen osmosis and whatnot. Hydrogen gas is able to prevent that from happening. And of course, from our intestinal bacteria, like I said, for the amount of time we've been producing hydrogen gas, we have a basal level of hydrogen gas in our body all the time. So the safety profile of hydrogen gas is enormous. And so the first rule, do no harm. And then if something may work, let's try it. So that's why I'm so passionate about hydrogen gas, because in reality, I can't really think of something that's, I guess, more safe as a supplement that has therapeutic potential than hydrogen gas, and yet has such profound therapeutic potential. So here's a brief summary. Again, therapeutic potential in 150 or about 170 different disease models, and essentially every organ in the human body. Neutralizes the toxic radicals as a selective antioxidant. Upregulates production of the body's own antioxidants. When it needs to be, again, if you're having a good it's not going to increase it more, because that could be bad. It has possible signal modulator properties, which again often needs anti-diabetic, anti-peptic, anti-allergen things. That is one article published on Nature Publishing Group in Neural Obesity, showing that hydrogen gas can activate the fibroblast growth hormone 21, which induces energy expenditure for like weight loss and things. They found that as an MI study, they found, I think it was rats drinking hydrogen-rich water had about the same effect as a 15% caloric restriction. And then there was an additive effect when you did both of them. So I mean, hydrogen seems to mimic fasting. Well, we already talked about ghrelin. That's again fasting, so it's pretty powerful there too. It has a very high safety profile. Many easy methods of administration. Probably the easiest, of course, is just drinking hydrogen-rich water. Briefly, because I know the question is there is, what's more effective, inhalation or hydrogen-rich water? Well, it depends. Sometimes inhalation can be more effective, but most of the time, well, I don't know most of the time, but I'll say it for right now, but I might change tomorrow. Drinking hydrogen-rich water is just as effective and sometimes more effective. In fact, in a Parkinson's disease study, only the hydrogen-rich water was effective, whereas a continuous administration of hydrogen inhalation was not effective, and that could be to the need of an intermittent or pulse type of exposure as opposed to this continuous exposure. So drinking hydrogen-rich water, of course, is the easiest and is a very effective way of getting the hydrogen gas. So this is kind of my prediction. The market is generally 10 years behind the science. That's kind of what we see in like a lot of different things out there. So 2007 is really the beginning of focused research on hydrogen. So I kind of predict by 2017 will be the year of H2 awareness, where just more of the universities and people will be like, wow, let's use this, let's do clinical trials. There's a lot of clinical trials that are underway or starting right now, mainly in Asia. And so when those get published, I mean, it's just going to really just take off. So here's some references. You can write these down really quick. So
I want to thank all the team out there, and everybody can, if we can do it, anybody can do it. See you guys somewhere around the world, some tropical place. And if we can do it, like I said, you can do it, and we'll see you around the world.
So your time has gone. Children, watch the fools. Don't
See, it's really good. Okay, there's a little tip for you. Give that a go. Talk soon.
watching. Good luck. GPN.